How about if you see the on squad, do you have like a secret handshake or something, or like a secret club card or something that you guys know?
I say hi to them, and they don't say hi back. I think they're young kids, and they're intimidated by my like
shots fired,
elder statesman masculine presence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can output Nathan, is what you're saying.
I said hi to Yared twice, and he has not said hi back.
Whoa!
So I'm frustrated.
Yared, come on the show. We'll squash the beef.
Give me a wave at least.
All right, yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Talking While Running. Super special guest. Gotta start my watch. Jake Riley, only the third Olympian we've had on.
Who are the other two?
Robbie Andrews and Morgan Pearson.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Stanford legend, on pro, Team Boulder guy. Dude, thanks so much for coming out. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pulling up. Lovely day. The winter kind of breaking here in Boulder. And you were just mentioning off camera, I want to jump in with the injury stuff.
Yeah.
If that's cool with you right away. I think, how many, do we have 3 Achilles surgeries under the belt?
Yep, 2 on the right, 1 on the left.
So how are you doing? Take us through that the last couple months. I know you said you've been knocked around a lot.
So Achilles started getting bad during my a little bit before my Boston prep. So that was, I don't know, September, October of like 2021. Yep. Kind of coming off the Olympics. I was feeling generally bad. Achilles was part of it.
Yep.
And I also found out later I was dealing with some red S as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that too.
Sure.
For sure.
So it was very painful during the Boston build, post-Boston. It's like, I don't want to go into the Olympics trying to manage this. It's just, right, you're just fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
So made the decision, finished Boston, stopped running. I got the right done in May, and then unfortunately weren't able to do both at the same time.
Interesting.
Came back in June, got the left done.
They didn't do a 2-for-1 special or something? How does that work out?
They looked at the x-rays and everything and thought it was going to be too complicated to get it all done at once. It was
interesting. Wow.
It was like the right was coming back. It looked like freaking claws in the back of my heel, and then the left was,
oh my god,
its whole other thing. Plus
That's
they had
gnarly.
to get rid of some dead tissue. They had to get rid of the bursa. They had to do some other stuff. So yeah, I was under for quite a few hours both times. So but rehab's been good.
Good.
It's been pretty much a straight up trajectory.
Yeah.
I had to kind of pause at a couple different spots, like transitioning from Ultra G to solid ground.
Yeah.
Took a little longer than I was hoping. And now I'm kind of, I don't know, I can kind of hit 5-minute pace, but that's sort of like capping out. And so trying to get back some sort of speed to actually be competitive now that I've started racing again.
That's
kind
awesome.
of where I'm at right now.
Okay, so we'll jump into the recent race in a second, but I had a thought that, like, I think we had Riley Masters on who said he was one of the first people who he knew who got the Haglunds done. And he said it seems like a trendy injury, I think he said.
It is.
Just in running, there's trends of injuries.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
Sure.
And yeah, what's the deal with that injury? Or maybe, I don't know, advice for avoiding it? Like, what's the deal with that one?
If I knew the advice for avoiding it, I would have freaking 3 of these
Sure.
on my belt. But I certainly do. It does feel like, it kind of goes in phases. People become aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was for a long time. It's like Achilles pain is relatively common. And then,
Yes.
But then I think more people hear about it. Now they start to know, oh, maybe I need to go look at this. And, I think a lot of runners just sort of deal with the pain for a long time, not knowing that there's other stuff they can do.
Right.
So yeah.
That's fine.
I think I gave Riley the recommendation for the doctor.
I think I couldn't remember who he mentioned. I thought it was you.
Because Galen and I
That's right.
got our surgeries at about the same time.
Right.
And then, I think I've given advice to like 2 or 3 other people since then.
Have you guys like compared Achilles scars or anything, you and Galen, with the Olympic rings? I don't know.
No, we did not compare the scars.
Okay.
But that is one of the things to think about is when they did my right side, they did it arthroscopically. So like very tiny scar, they just go and they clear it out.
Yeah.
But apparently like 3 years later, a lot of people that got that method done are having to come back in for the same problem that I had.
Interesting.
So this time, they basically, car stop.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks, boss.
They went in with a much bigger scar because apparently, like, when you're in there with like the little Dremel tool, it gets really hot and there's like a bone slurry.
Wow.
Which when you go arthroscopic, they can't go anywhere, and they think that might be causing issues with like bone coming back. So
anyway, wow,
talk to
that's
your
amazing.
doctor about a more invasive procedure. But the recovery time was about the same. I just have some sweet little racing stripes on the side of my Achilles now.
Right, cool. Well, we got right into the injury stuff, so thank you for humoring me there. Sounds like you're doing well.
That's the thing I'm most famous for right now.
Well, I wanted to talk on like
really done anything else in the last couple years.
Okay, hold on. Put a pause in that. I would argue against that. Because that's what I want to get into. Like, I think if we had talking while running superlatives, you might have the best story, just outright, or at least the pro career. For people who don't know, 2020 comes around. Jake runs the marathon trials in Atlanta, qualifies. Then COVID shuts all the rest of the upcoming trials down. So you were one of 6 American runners who knew that you qualified for the Olympics, but had to wait a full year until it even came up again. What was that like? And I mean, just as mind-blowing as it sounds looking back on it, or is it kind of just normal to you now as your narrative?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of part of the narrative. It certainly, yeah, I mean, it sucks. I didn't get to race. I didn't get to like immediately capitalize on sort of that post-Olympic stuff. I think it probably limited like sort of the options that I had out there, which was a little bit frustrating. But you know, I got my full nice build-up. I had my race go off with no hitches or sort of like extra protocols, which the people that were at the track trials couldn't say. So like, I got my race done, and I could just kind of hang out through COVID.
Right.
It was certainly nerve-wracking when we were still trying to figure out if there was going to be an Olympics. That was my biggest concern. But once everybody was clear, like, yes, we're going to have the Olympics
eventually,
then, you know, I knew what my job was, and I knew what my timeline was, and I could just kind of go based off of that.
For sure. I don't want to just drum up that whole race again, because you've done some great interviews and the stories are out there. Shout out the City of Snag one. Okay, great. Then let's do the whole pod on it. No, but all I wanted to ask was, like, looking back on that race, because it kind of came down to a lot of critical thinking in the end, or at least that's what it felt like with the chase pack after Galen.
Sure.
Can you explain, like, that to people who maybe aren't elite runners? Like, not only are you grinding for 26 miles, but you have to be thinking about, am I in the top 3? Am I close? Can I close here? Like, was that real in your head, or were you just running, looking back?
Going into the race, I had a plan with Coach based off of Atlanta being a very hilly course on a very windy day. So, especially championship racing like that, you know, nerves are very high. People can get a little bit antsy and maybe, you know, not know how much of a hole they're putting themselves in. So, his instructions for me was, you can't go until 18. Like, if you're gonna really start to try and grind, don't go until 18.
Nice.
Galen put in a move around like 14 or 15 that really spread the whole pack out.
Right.
And I made the decision not to go with that. And there was like, I don't know, 3 miles or so where I was starting to wonder if I had made a really big tactical error by not going for it. And then, so we start coming back into the city. It's like, I don't know, maybe 17, 18, 19 miles at that point. And it's like, okay, well, can't leave it any later, because we got some downhills coming down, and they've got, I think at that point, I found out later they had 45 seconds on me, but I basically knew that they were starting to lose, I was starting to lose sight of them. And then I decided to go, and I thought some people were going to come with me. That was the other part of it. It's like I wanted some people to work into the wind with. And that didn't happen, but then, it was just like...
So your max
put your head down.
Was like 45 seconds, you mean? Before you turn,
Put my head down and grind, and I think the other nice thing was that Galen basically dropped all the people that tried to go with him. So there was that chase pack.
After one of the most legendary photos on the starting line.
Sure.
In my opinion.
But I think that chase pack, right, they had gotten dropped. They knew they were 2 through 4. And so it was, okay, we're probably just racing each other right now. So I think they pulled back a little bit on their pace. We're trying to race each other, which gave me, you know, a bit of an advantage, because they were clicking on 5s.
A huge advantage in a smart way for you. Like,
plus, you know, it's easier when you have somebody to chase.
Which is also something people who aren't, like, I don't know, who don't race or stuff like that, like, don't know, but it's so much easier psychologically to hunt someone.
I've been asked multiple times, like, well, you have a watch that tells you pace, why don't you just go out and run 4:45? I'm like, well, it's not that easy.
That's not how it works.
You try doing it.
Well, you just mentioned, like, trading off the wind lead is what you were like that's a strategy thing that you can only do with other folks who are racing the same pace as you.
Yeah,
And
or
who
you
are,
pull yourself back a little bit to
Yeah.
run with them, with the hopes you'll have more in the second half.
So, well, anyway, after that race, legendary end of the race, I remember watching and being like, damn, Jake Riley, like kind of, I mean, underdog as hell. Then you go on to the Olympics a year later. What was like that gap like? You know, I think you got the On sponsorship in that time.
Yep.
So kind of like getting your feet under you as after this breakout race, what was that like?
It was a little bit tough, right? We tried to come up with racing opportunities,
Yeah.
doing like virtual 5Ks or like when we started being able to put on track races type of thing, but we couldn't, or it was harder to travel outside of state. So I think, yeah, I maybe lost a little bit of a step mentally, like I think a lot of people did.
Competitively, maybe.
Yeah. The actual build-up itself, I think, went really well.
Yeah.
I maybe learned some lessons in how to balance intensity of training with when you add in other stuff, right? A lot of my build-ups have been for the fall, and this was for a summer race, so I was also trying to do heat acclimation training.
Wow, yeah.
So some of the techniques are like ways that I had been doing my fueling and my resting
Yeah.
was not enough because I'm adding this other stress in there. And I think I've learned a lot from that. But yeah, I mean, I think I've been with Lee long enough, and one of our big things is consistency of training. We didn't try to do anything different.
Yeah.
So that was all sort of familiar. But you know, it's just for like a bigger stage.
Yeah, and I want to touch on Lee. We've gone on long enough without touching on Lee Fruit. Legendary 3-time Olympic marathoner for Australia as your coach.
Yep.
And he uses Trackster, the app, so shout out. What's he like as a coach? We've had Carrie Verdon on. What's like the team dynamic like, and how's his training philosophy?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing people know Lee for is very passionate and also very personal.
Yeah.
Right, so his relationship with his athletes, relationship with other coaches, other running groups, it's all very personal. So if he likes you, if you're on good terms, and he's a very gregarious guy, things are going to be going great. Just don't cross him. But as far as being one of his athletes, like,
He's old school like
you
that.
are family. Like,
Yeah.
he cares deeply about your personal and like professional lives. He's also my agent. We have a great
Nice.
relationship. Like when I moved out here to train with him, he was basically building me up from zero because
Yeah.
I've been taking like 2.5 years dealing with an Achilles thing, and then I got my surgery, and he basically built me up from that. And then right after I joined, we had one of his athletes, John Gray, who I had raced a bunch, committed suicide, which really like broke up the whole training group at the time.
Devastating.
And so we kind of built each other back up and kind of came back together. So that's a pretty strong bond that we have at this point.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But yeah, we got a good group. I think Carrie would
Yeah.
maybe like a few more women to train with.
She was a fan of yours.
We've
sing
only
with
got
us,
like
for sure.
2 or 3 that can really like hang with her.
Yeah.
But you know, she'll do some of the long run stuff with us. And we've got a good group of guys. Probably 3 or 4 of us are shooting for that trial standard.
Yep.
So I got people to work with, and especially right now, like it's a good place to be because they can certainly kick my ass. And yeah, it's good to have people to train with.
Well, we'll probably see
I'm a big
some-
believer in running training groups.
For sure, and we'll probably see a few of the other high-octane ones in Boulder by the time we finish this run. It's happened almost every time. You see another legendary group. All right, we're gonna flip here. I think of the next row, but I do want to talk about. Got plenty coming up on Talking While Running. All right, this episode of Talking While Running is brought to you by Goodr. Goodr is the ultimate performance sunglass brand. They got all this freshest styles, polarized, lightweight sunglasses for whatever you're doing outside.
Goodr.
Okay, well, where did we leave off? So, Red, as you touched on it, I want to read the official term so folks who are just hearing about it. Okay, relative energy deficiency in sport. You probably could have just said that for me, but...
I always put a syndrome instead of sport, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's me
Respect.
saying the wrong term.
Okay. So that actually makes sense though. So take us through how did you find out that you were experiencing that, and how did you, what was the first reaction in like dealing with that with Lee and everything else as an athlete and just a human?
Well, going into the trials especially, I didn't want to leave anything on the table, so I was like, okay, never really worried about diet
Yeah.
or trying to find a race weight.
Right.
And the way that I decided to deal with that, which in retrospect was really dumb, but even at the time I knew it was probably not the best way to do it, was just, we're going to set a weight goal and then we're going to restrict calories to try and hit it.
Yeah.
And I thought I was doing it in a smart way. I thought I was like going to be riding the line.
Yeah.
It went really well at the trials. I ran really successfully.
Yeah. 210 on a hot day, by the way. So.
And then coming back, I was like, okay, well that worked gangbusters. I must have done this correctly.
Right.
I will now just do this for everything.
Yeah.
So I did that for my Olympics build-up, and like I said, I was also trying to do heat acclimation.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
what does that look like? If we could put it, zoom in on that for a second.
I did like a 10-day trip to Virginia to try and run in like heat and humidity,
nice.
And then I did a lot of running in, you're going out for a run in 80 degrees in, sweatpants and 2 shirts type of thing.
Dang.
It's like your heart rate jumps up, and it's all And I'm a sweaty guy to begin with. So it was not fun.
We have a lot in common in that way.
Yeah. So I think that just like it tipped me over the edge, and after that, just I came back from the Olympics just exhausted. I just wanted to eat everything in sight, like huge sweet tooth, like complete lack of motivation for running, a little bit of depression, which we thought was kind of post-Olympic blues, which is kind of a thing a lot of athletes get, where you prepare for this really big moment and then it's done. You don't know what to do with yourself, so it's like, oh, it must just be that.
Yeah.
But then we started training for Boston, and it was like in Space Jam where like the aliens suck the powers out, and all of a sudden the basketball players like don't know how to play anymore. I would be going out and just giving maximum effort to try to run 10, 20 seconds a mile slower than I had been before.
Yeah.
I just could not figure out what was wrong. It was like, didn't matter what kind of training we did. It just always felt crappy. It would, I would just fall off a cliff after like 10 minutes of intense effort.
Right.
Couldn't race well. I was getting beat by, I was getting like in the mid 30s, like low 40s at Gate River, like just crushed by, like run club guys and people with like without elite bibs.
Yeah.
Which I,
for
anybody watching this that doesn't have elite bibs, that's fine. It just,
I get it.
It just wasn't.
You're an Olympic, Olympian.
The amount of effort that I was putting in did not match what I was getting back from my body, and I couldn't figure out why. Yeah. And I had this long run where my Achilles hurt, and it was like this windy, rainy day, and I felt just absolutely exhausted. I was supposed to go 2.5 hours. Yeah. I'm like 45 minutes in, I basically had a breakdown with Lee. It's like, I don't know what's happening, man. It's gone. My talent is gone. I don't know what's wrong. So we thought maybe it was iron. I had read some of the stuff from Jared Ward about his thyroid issues. I was like, that sounds awfully familiar. Checked iron. It was low. Vitamin D was a little bit low.
There's a part of this too, like you said, where, I mean, the caveat is that you're running 110-mile weeks, and it's normal to feel exhausted. So it's got to be tough.
You do expect to feel a little bit tired, but you also expect training to sort of yield dividends to eventually start to feel fit.
Exactly.
Like I would take time off, or I would take like a down week and run maybe 50, 60 miles, and it wouldn't make me feel any better.
Right, where you couldn't get in the air.
Yeah, so I was taking Ironman supplements, and they weren't doing anything. And so the doctor that I was working with, Dr. Gabalius, suggested check in with a nutritionist to see what's up. Yeah. And within, I think, like 5 minutes of talking, Maddie Olm runs for the Boss group.
Yeah, give her a shout out. I want to have her on. Yeah. We'll have her on. She's a buff, right?
Former buff.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
She diagnosed. It's like, that sounds awfully like Red S. Yeah. At that point, I had to make a decision as to whether or not it was even worth it to run Boston. I had never run it before. I wanted to run down Boylston.
Heck yeah. I went to BC. I respect it.
And I need to go back because I shamed the course.
Oh, no.
I knew at 10K that not only was this not going to be like a good race day, that this was going to be just absolute slaughter. It was going to be bad.
Brother, all the shame was happening on BC's campus. I can promise you that. You're fine.
So like, I was jogging it in. Yeah. By the time I finished, like my left side was tingling. Yeah. I walked into the hotel room, crashed face down. It was
body bag.
Yeah, one of the worst experiences of my career. It was awful.
That sucks. Boston coming up. All right, you were saying. Sorry. You were dead in the hotel room.
Yeah, but at that point we knew that Redis was part of it. Yeah. We knew I was getting Achilles surgery, so I just stopped running. I was like, well, diminishing returns. Like, if I'm getting surgery in a month, let's just shut it down. Yeah. got the surgery. Nice thing about being in a cast for 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks in a boot 2 times over is that I spend a lot of time on the couch.
Heck yeah.
Doing nothing but eating.
Yeah.
Which is basically what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Red S is basically your body has been...
Sorry, we didn't even explain it.
It hasn't been receiving calories enough, right? You haven't been taking in enough calories to fuel the training you're doing, and your body's like, we can't fuel this.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you're asking us to do right now, you are not giving us enough energy to do it. So next time you ask for energy, I'm not giving you anything because you're not replenishing these stores.
Stored.
Basically.
Yeah.
So it just like cuts you off, and so you just reach this cliff where after I noticed after like 5-10 minutes, all of a sudden I could not push harder.
So once you're on the couch and trying to get that nutrition dialed in, how long did that take to maybe where you're feeling like, okay,
I don't know, because as soon as I started training again, I had also taken 3-4 months off of running. So I felt garbage anyway. But I mean, even running similar paces now, my form feels better. I feel stronger.
Excellent.
There are other sort of things that I can look at. Like a sweet tooth is a big one.
Yeah.
I thought I had a sweet tooth because I would finish dinner, and if I didn't have at least some chocolate chips, then I would feel just hungry the rest of the night. And that is one of kind of the signs your body's just craving carbohydrates because you're not getting enough. And it's actually really, really hard to get enough carbohydrates.
It is.
I wouldn't be surprised if
most runners,
50% of the men out there are on some form of it. Like I've talked to a couple runners privately that think they're dealing with the same thing, and like, you're probably riding that edge.
Right.
And if you end up with some sort of stress, like you get sick or I don't know, you do heat acclimation or whatever it is.
Traveling, you miss meals, something like that. Yeah.
It's gonna put you over the edge.
Yeah.
So, but now I don't care about dessert. Like I know that ice cream will taste good, but like
that's awesome.
I could eat a couple bites. And then put it away. And that never happened before. And I'm not saying that you should be denying yourself ice cream. Eat carbs. Eat everything. If the fire's hot enough, it'll burn it. Like
exactly.
You should not be restricting calories. It's bad for you.
But you're saying you learned that about your body, that you can feel it in a different way.
Exactly. So I kind of have this little hint that like, okay, if I don't have a dessert craving, I'm probably doing okay.
Right.
And I have noticed it like come back a little bit. I am a little bit of a lazy person in a lot of aspects. So like I would just kind of get focused on work or whatever it is that I'm doing and forget to eat. And if I do that for a little while, I'll start to notice those cravings come back. I'm like, okay, no, we need to get back on a plan. So
100%.
Big thing for me is eating every like 3 to 4 hours, even if it's just a snack. Making it a lot more carb rich, right? So making sure that there's some sort of grain present in anything that I'm doing. Not worrying as much about like protein or other stuff, like calories from carbs, baby.
Spit it. And we'll drop it. Literally, I'm sure Jake's okay with some DMs if anyone's interested. Hit him up. I mean, this is part of why I was excited to have you on, because you and Lee have been really open about it. And I mean, it's one of those, it's like when you're in school, they say if somebody has a question, other people in the class have the same one, and you're dealing with something other runners must be.
Pros DMs are not as busy as you might think they are. Like,
I can attest.
Pro, we'll probably reach back to you. It's really nice.
They might even come on your show.
We're not so famous that like we can afford to turn away a runner that has a couple questions. But I've been really fortunate to have mentors. I think that's another great thing about working with Lee. He's a 3-time Olympian. He had done carb depletion.
He was a skinny boy.
He was a very skinny boy.
I can just say that as an ignorant.
Which, one of the hints that I was doing something wrong might have been that I wanted to hide that I was trying to do calorie restriction from him. Because he could have told me that was a bad idea. But he also he did 160-mile weeks and realized it didn't work for him. Like, he was doing 3-a-days. He made a ton of mistakes, and it was the same thing. I ran with the Hanson's program for a while. Older marathoners, Mike Morgan especially, taught me how to run the marathon. Like, finding mentors, I think, is huge. So, if you need a mentor with some advice, hit me up.
All right, I love it. We're approaching the end. I feel like we could go on for much longer, so we'll have to do another ep one day. I wanted to ask, looking back on Sapporo, as you said, you were kind of in the swell of the Red S and the Achilles at that point, but what's kind of like the feeling now looking back? Sentimental or fond of it? And also, what was your thought? I want to ask about seeing Molly Seidel the day before, just kind of if that was a highlight too for you.
Well, that got me insanely fired up, right?
Nice.
Like, she was, I think, a huge surprise to make the team.
Yeah.
And then to come out and run that well.
Bronze.
Yeah. That was huge, and it certainly gave me hope for my race.
Yeah.
And then I went out, and I'm very frustrated with how I performed. I don't think I ran very smart. I was like, it's a hot day, it's gonna go out quick, so be conservative. And then I was too conservative, and then immediately tried to correct it, but I tried to correct it solo. So I basically ran 20 miles alone trying to catch people.
Trying a negative split or something.
Yeah, when I could have just gone out a little bit harder, and maybe I would have died, but I think I would have been a little more happy to have gone for it. So I left Sapporo very dissatisfied, and yeah, hungry to get back.
I'm gonna say, so what do we got coming up? You got a lot of time left. If we're talking Olympics next year, is that what we're talking?
Yeah.
And what's kind of the upcoming plan? You said you raced recently. Lay it out for the people if they want to follow you and stay up to date.
Oh yeah, at Jake Bill Riley on Instagram.
Yeah.
I was just at the Cooper River Bridge Run in Charleston as sort of my rust buster.
Heck yeah.
It certainly felt rusty. And, we're not going to worry about time or place. It was just get back out there and feel what it's like to be in a race.
How did it feel?
I mean, it's starting to feel good.
Yeah.
I certainly was happy with the first half of it, and then I didn't close it out.
Cool.
Which is what this next month is going to be about.
Yeah.
Race in Bloomsday in Spokane. It's mostly just try and race this spring, get back into that sort of intensity, right? Race pain and training pain are different.
And you get the mindset.
It'll kind of finish with Grandma's Half in June.
Nice.
And then we're going to get into hopefully a marathon build-up. Still got to figure out exactly what the deal is. Hoping to run Berlin, but we'll see.
Okay.
So fall marathon and then trials, baby.
Okay, very good. We'll jog back to your car.
Cool. Yeah.
I just want to ask you, it sounds sick. Also, all the training details in this run will be on Trackster, of course, link below. You guys are the hottest brand. You kind of side with them kind of early, it felt like, because of your timing.
Yeah.
And now the OAC, we're on their turf.
Stealing my thunder.
Yeah. Just kind of take us through the brand these days. Anything exciting coming up for people, or like, you got a promo code you want to drop? I don't know. What's the deal on?
I don't have my own promo code.
Okay.
But yeah, the new Echoes should be coming soon. I've been able to run on the prototypes. Probably seen like Helen O'Beary crushing in them. Very excited about that.
Prototypes of the gram.
I don't know. I think people know about them. They're the fashion brand, right? They are now like the tech bro shoe of choice.
Yes.
No hiding from it. Obviously, their spikes are on fire.
Yeah.
And Flats should be joining them pretty soon.
Yeah.
Seeing some fast marathon time.
How about if you see the On squad? Do you have like a secret handshake or something, or like a secret club card or something that you guys know?
I say hi to them, and they don't say hi back. I think they're young kids, and they're intimidated by my like
shots fired,
elder statesman masculine presence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can output Nathan, is what you're saying.
I said hi to Yared twice, and he has not said hi back.
Whoa!
So I'm frustrated.
Yared, come on the show. We'll squash the beef.
Give me a wave at least.
All right, yeah. There needs to be like a sign, an on sign, O and an N.
Yeah.
We'll brainstorm.
Klecker sent me congratulations after my wedding, so that was very thoughtful.
Okay, there you go. All right, well, thanks so much, bro. We'll end it there.
Yeah.
Can't thank you enough for coming out, and good luck with everything coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Before the Olympics, and it was the same thing. Got a shout out, so maybe I need to come here more.
Oh wow, cool.
I'm a South Boulder guy, so I don't really
got it.
come here on the weekends, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's hilarious.